everybody. This is Jim Hague. Welcome to Mr. Hague's podcast. And today I have a very, very special podcast. One that we hope to save lives. And because I have two dynamic ladies on the call, both who are big time advocates for the newest drug called fentanyl. And both sadly lost their daughters. And I think we owe it to them to listen to their stories and do something about it before more lives are lost. So, in honor of their daughters, and in total gratitude for these two ladies to come aboard and showing their courage, I want them to speak to you, the student, all my students, everyone around the country. I want you to hear and give their respect to these ladies, and just hear what they have to say. So we all know that the drug epidemic in this nation is rising, and there has been a huge spike in overdosing. But now we're fighting this new illicit drug called fentanyl. And in my previous podcast, I talked about the statistics and how fentanyl is produced, how it starts in China, then makes its way to Mexico, and then somehow into the United States. But it's not a new drug. It's actually, but it's new in terms of the media is concerned. And it's new because it's actually, unfortunately, taking lives. And ladies, of course, we have with us, we have Kimberly, and we have Cindy DeMeo. Did I say that right?
Yes.
Yes, Kimberly Bohati, right?
Yes.
Yes, and Cindy DeMeo. And and I want to thank you both for coming to the show. And I read your story, Cindy, but I want both of you ladies to kind of tell us about your daughter. Now, Kimberly, your daughter's name is Alyssa Dawn West.
Yes.
Cindy, your daughter's name is Rachel DeMeo. So,
Yes.
can both of you tell me about, because I don't want to start talking about their deaths, I want to talk about their lives. So, Kimberly, can you give us maybe a couple of minutes to talk about Alyssa?
Yeah, of course. Um, Basically, Alyssa, she was a normal, teenage girl, but she was very outgoing. She loved her family, her friends. They meant everything to her. Um, she was always basically the life of the party. You couldn't have a bad day around Alyssa. She just wouldn't let you. Um, I know I think about her laugh all the time. She had the loudest, the funniest, most contagious laugh. Um, and Alyssa was a good kid. She went to school. She was home all the time. She basically, she wasn't perfect by any means, but she was a really good kid, and her death just it came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Um, it wasn't expected. It wasn't something that I had dealt with for years of her addiction. It wasn't. It was just out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And that's basically. I just wanted to let people know, like Alyssa wasn't an addict. She wasn't. She didn't do things like this. She made a mistake, and it ended up costing her life.
Yes, and that is a tragedy because I saw her Facebook page, and yes, she seemed like a very lovely young lady, full of spirit, and a tremendous loss to this world. And Cindy, same thing goes with your daughter. Maybe you can give us a couple of minutes of the life of.
Well, both our daughters were 17 years old,
Mhm.
and that's pretty tragic when they're under our care, and something like this happens. As a mother, you feel all kinds of things. But I have to tell you that you know the world has changed so much, and I don't care if your child is 9 years old or 17 years old. When they're going out in public, they're going to be talking to people, and they're going to be handed things for a pill to relax, or a pill because their back hurts, and things like that. However, everything is tainted with fentanyl. And I wake up every day, or I start at rachelsangels.org, and I wake up every day to dead kids and the pain of these families. And Alyssa West is one of them. We're putting up a billboard in honor of her daughter, and Kimberly is taking care of everything through GoFundMe's. But we need people to step up and start talking about this, because it's not drug addicts. And drug addicts are dying, obviously, definitely. However, it's kids going to a college party and taking a pill. It's kids, smoking a joint and it's laced with fentanyl. The Mexican cartels are invading our country, and these parents really need to know about it. And I miss my daughter every day. And I'm going on year 6. And I reach out to people, mothers like Kimberly, and I help put their daughters on billboards, and it's a wonderful feeling for them. It's like good and bad. Just stand up there and know their child was murdered.
And what is the most common way? I call this poisoning. I mean, you can come up with another term if you like, but what is the most common way that fentanyl gets into the body? I mean, you mentioned lacing other illicit drugs, I would imagine, or maybe like Kimberly. How did you find out about Alyssa, or what happened, if you don't mind explaining?
Um, well, like I said, Alyssa didn't really go anywhere. She didn't stay the night anywhere. But this night, she wanted to stay the night at a friend's house, and so I let her. I was supposed to pick her up in the morning to go to church, but she asked me if I would wait until after church to pick her up. After church, I was dropping off my stepson um, in a town an hour away from me, and then I was going to go pick up Alyssa, and I ended up getting a phone call from the Grand Island Police Department to tell me that there was an accident and Alyssa was at the hospital. They wouldn't tell me anything else. I called the hospital. I spoke to the nurse. The nurse, when I said Alyssa's name, she didn't say anything. She just said, let me go get the doctor. And so they put the doctor on the phone. The doctor told me there was an accident. Alyssa was there. I needed to hurry up and get there. And so I told him I would be right there. And I remember the last thing I asked him before I hung up, I said, well, can you tell me if she's okay? And he said, sorry, it's still hard for me to talk about, but
Okay, take
he
your
said,
time.
Oh, of course.
he said, oh, that's better off I tell you in person. And so, like, as a mother, I knew, I knew something wasn't right. I knew because they wouldn't tell me. And that was the longest hour drive of my life.
Wow.
I stopped at least 4 different gas stations. My husband said, well, don't you want to hurry up and get there? And I said, no, I don't want to hurry up and get there for them to tell me my daughter's dead. Like, I don't want to. And we pulled up to the hospital. The nurse met me outside, and they took us back to the room where everybody was waiting. And all I remember is when I walked in the room, the chaplain walked in behind me, and the doctor and 4 police officers. Um, and I don't really remember much after that. I remember them saying, I'm sorry, we did everything we could, but her heart just stopped. And I remember I fell to the floor, and I don't remember much after that, except for when they asked if we wanted to go back and see her. And there's some days that I wish I wouldn't have went back and seen her, because it's a picture in my mind I don't think I'm ever going to forget, because they had her laying there in the body bag already.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wow.
They hadn't cleaned her up or anything, so she had throw up all over her and blood all over her, and
I remember you telling me that.
Yeah, it was horrible.
My God, I'm right now. I'm just like besides myself, just envisioning that,
And then, I mean, not only that, it was that my 16-year-old son fell to the floor beside his sister and was screaming, and we could not get him to leave. He said he wasn't leaving, and he would not leave from the floor.
my God, that is a tough story to follow. But Cindy, can you tell me about your story and how what happened, how that this all transpired for Rachel?
Well, with Rachel, I knew she was experimenting with drugs. She had suffered concussions in volleyball. She was a volleyball star. And the year that she had to take a break from volleyball, she kind of lost track of a lot of her friends that she used to hang out with and stuff. So she ended up going to a football game and meeting a 19-year-old. She was like 15, 16 at the time, and he was a heroin addict. And he actually kind of looked like Johnny Depp. He was a 19-year-old derelict dropout heroin addict, but actually, the boys get the girls sometimes when they're young, and she got caught up in that. But I was all over it. I was trying to like break them up and stuff. But she ended up. Um, I found her laying in her bed right now. I still stay in this apartment, and it's very painful. I went to check on her. I knew that she had had issues. She had actually overdosed a month before she died from from fentanyl, and we went to the hospital. She was Narcan, and they said it was heroin. She was like kind of experimenting with heroin with this guy. And once you start heroin, once your child takes one hit, whatever snort, whatever of heroin, that feeling never leaves your brain. I don't care who you are. So if your child, your daughter, your son is exposed to heroin, their brain is going to always search for that drug, that high again. And Rachel was exposed to that. And so I came, it was 3 o'clock in the morning. I knew she was studying, and I found her face down on her bed with her phone. And her legs were stiff. I turned her around and started screaming. A friend of mine was there at the time, called 911. I live kind of in a secluded place, and it just was. I mean, it was the most horrific thing I've ever been through. I was giving her CPR. She actually vomited, and I was like clearing her throat, clearing her mouth, giving her. She looked me in the eye, and she passed away right in my arms.
And I want,
Because by the time the paramedics got there, they worked on her for an hour with Narcan, but I already knew she, because I was holding her dead in my arms for like 10 minutes. So I kind of already knew. I knew.
and I want every teenager, young adult, parents, everyone to take these stories in. Drug addiction doesn't just affect the one person. It affects the entire
She
family.
snorted what she thought was
Yeah.
just some cocaine,
Yeah, and it was laced with
and it was
fentanyl.
pure car fentanyl.
Oh,
And my daughter thought she was smoking a marijuana blunt, and it was laced with fentanyl. I've had several people tell me, well, if I smoke marijuana, it's not in there. It is.
It is.
It definitely is.
And Rachel wanted to just have a little cocaine for $20 to finish reading her book. And when I found her, she had her phone and her book and her little shorts and t-shirt on her bed that I'm laying in right now. I will not leave this apartment ever.
God.
And it just takes such a small amount to kill you.
Yeah, I heard like 2 ounces. That's a pinch of salt almost.
Yeah, my daughter's autopsy showed she had 3.2 nanograms.
Oh my God, that's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it was 3.2. They said that was one of the lowest they've ever seen, but
How do you even
that's
handle?
all it took.
I mean, I don't even know how to handle that. I mean, what instrument to use to pick that amount up? I mean, that's just. But at any rate, the stories that I just heard are gut wrenching, and I'm nearly in tears right now just hearing them, and I am so devastated by your loss. But at the same time, I'm encouraged by your courage. And as I was mentioning before, I want every teenager, every student, everybody just absorb their stories, absorb what they went
They're
through.
lacing Adderall. They're lacing everything.
They're,
There's nothing safe. And I'm not proud that my daughter ordered cocaine, but she didn't deserve to get carfentanil.
No,
Yep.
no. And can they lace? I mean, where can fentanyl go? I mean, we're talking about other drugs. I mean, marijuana and but can it be laced in like foods or drinks?
I've heard they have fentanyl like spray and everything.
Yes.
Spray.
Yeah.
You need to contact Jim Rao. Fentanyl needs to be labeled as a weapon of mass destruction. That's the bill we are all working for. The top national charities in the country are all with Jim Rao and Derek Maltz Sr. and trying to get fentanyl labeled as a weapon of mass destruction so we can actually start a war with the cartels.
Can you tell me what the? Can you spell that name, Jim?
Jim, Rauh.
U-H. Okay, and
he is a leader.
Okay, because I'm going to put this all out there. He's a leader for the against the fight. Is he like a politician or?
No, he lost his son.
Oh, okay.
And he stays pretty low key.
He's an activist.
But he's wealthy, and he's been to China. He's been on 60 Minutes. He's all over Fox News, along with Derek Maltz Sr. Derek Maltz Sr. is a DEA agent all over Fox News.
Okay, Senior. Got it. Okay.
Derek Maltz Sr. And these ex-DEA, Derek didn't lose a child, but he's fighting for the fight. Jim Rao lost his son, and he's gotten many. I mean, I was with Tim Ryan, Congressman Tim Ryan, running for Senate, but he didn't win. But we were all like legislating to get all these things handled. But Jim Rao is on a mission, and he's getting older like me. So we need to get this out there to get fentanyl recognized as a weapon of mass destruction. That's the most important thing we have to do right now.
And it is. It is definitely a weapon of mass destruction.
Because it could be put in your food chain. It could be put every. Yes. He's a chemist. Jim is a chemist.
Oh wow! And you know, I saw the faces on your website. And by the way, the website is www.rachelsangels.org. That's RACHELS angels.org. And
yes.
What was gut wrenching when I saw the faces there, I mean, I've seen pretty much a wide range of ages, including a little baby.
Yeah.
And that to me, how does that
happen? That
is
Serenity. I work with her mom.
Oh my God, I just can't imagine.
She was 8 months old, and this was all in the news, and she had custody of baby Serenity along with the older brother. And the parents came to take her for ice cream for a visitation. And now both parents are in jail.
Oh, my God. Yeah, anyways, we can go on and on about how evil this drug is and how evil some people are. But I want to focus on your nonprofit now. Now, in honor of both your daughters' lives, so that their loss is not in vain and that it is, we can springboard this into something positive that saves lives, because they're angels now. I strongly believe that. And
I feel Rachel every day.
Yeah, they're angels now, and I'm sure I was going to ask you, do you feel their presence? And
I do.
And I strongly believe sometimes they're brought up so they can serve a higher purpose that they probably wouldn't do on Earth. And
Sharon, tell me your signs that you see. I mean,
I see things. It's so weird because, like, my daughter, anybody that knew my daughter knew that she wore fake eyelashes all the time. She never went anywhere without fake eyelashes on. And a couple weeks after she passed away, we had moved because we were in the process before she passed away. And I had went outside, and just right there on my mat outside, on my welcome mat, was an eyelash just sitting there. And I'm like, well, that's weird because I don't even know how it would have got there.
Wow.
But there.
Wow. That's and that must be comforting.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, the signs are so comforting. And people who have not lost a child have no idea. And the only way you will receive signs is if you are open-hearted and just like open your heart. I get pennies,
Yeah.
pennies.
Wow.
Rachel leaves me pennies and feathers.
And Kimberly, uh, from what I understand, I watched a little bit of the news clip that you were in. You have a GoFund page, and I believe you're trying to raise money for a billboard.
Yeah, I actually, Cindy helped me get a billboard set up here in Grand Island with my daughter on it. Because here, like I was telling Cindy, here in Grand Island and Lincoln area, and I don't see anything about fentanyl. Like I knew fentanyl was around before my daughter passed away, but I didn't really know anything about it. Um, and I got a billboard here to raise fentanyl awareness, and then we're working on a couple more around the area.
And we need funds, and we have cheap prices, so we don't need a lot of funds. So
Yeah.
if we can get anybody to just send a few bucks, we can get a billboard up.
Well, we
Yeah,
need
and
one here in
that's
California.
actually on my Facebook page. I
Hmm.
shared it on there under Kimberly Bohati.
Hmm. And Cindy, you have obviously you have the website Rachel's Angels, and we can donate. We can make donations there for your nonprofit.
Absolutely, yes, because we help families everywhere, and we're going into schools. We do so much.
Would you be open to doing a Zoom meeting?
Absolutely.
Okay. So as y'all both know, I do teach high school, and I have in front of me a lot of students. But at the same time, let me ask you this before we go into that. Um, what do you think parents should be aware of? What should they be aware of? What their kids are doing? Because I think one of the poisons of the world is social media, and I've heard a lot of drugs being passed through and dealt with in social media.
Snapchat.
Snapchat.
Um, Snapchat, especially, that's how my daughter, the marijuana that she bought from somebody on Snapchat. Um, Unfortunately, in Nebraska, there's no law that holds the people accountable that kill your children. I mean, they can give them pills, whatever, fentanyl, anything, and they cannot be prosecuted. Snapchat, I was told that they don't have enough evidence on because she had purchased it through Snapchat, and through Snapchat the messages are deleted.
Mm,
So there's no way to get those back.
okay.
Um, the boy did end up getting prosecuted, but not, it wasn't for her death, but because of her death, they were able to issue a warrant for distribution. And they did find 30 fentanyl pills at his house. And he ended up getting 35 to 45 years, but he was a child also. He was only 17.
Wow.
Yeah, and so like Snapchat, I feel is the worst one because you can't recover the messages.
Mm, I see that, and the thing is that social media is so important now to this day of age, and I'm trying to calm that a little bit, and with the TikToks and the face and Facebook, the students these days they don't go on Facebook, but they do Instagram. And
Yeah.
but I guess you're right. The one thing we can do is we can go back and see, or they maintain data and see exactly the different exchanges that happen. But as a parent, and one of the things I advocate is that the parents should all friend their kids or follow their kids or whatever you want to call it. If they have a Snapchat account, you as a parent should also have a Snapchat account
Yep.
and be aware. Personally, I think they should be off social media. But at the same time, in your case, Kimberly, your daughter did not pass because of social media. It's because it's just they're doing teenage things, I would imagine.
Yeah, I actually have all her past everything for all her social media, so I could check it at any time. Um, that's how I got so many pictures of her and stuff now after she passed away, is because I can get into her social media accounts. But like I said, I can read all the other ones from Facebook and everything, but Snapchat I can't because they delete right after somebody reads them.
And what can we do now at this point? What would you want us to all do at this point?
Um, honestly, I don't. I don't even really know what to say. There's so much that should be done, or wasn't done, or that can be done. I feel like Snapchat should be changed for one, so that you can recover the messages. So it's not as easy to sell drugs and stuff on Snapchat.
Okay, so and what about the laws? I mean, do you think there should be prosecution? I personally think that if you're a drug dealer and the drug you give results in the death of another person, that should be many decades of prison time.
Yeah, that's how I feel also, because you're giving something to someone knowing the harm it could do. You are holding somebody else's life in your hands by handing this stuff to people. I don't feel like it's any different than people who go out and drink and drive and get in car accidents and kill people. They're held responsible. I don't understand why you can give somebody fentanyl and take their life and you're not held accountable. Just like the person that was with my daughter when she passed away, they have a law that if you're overdosing, that you're immune to charges. Well, this person waited for over an hour to call the ambulance on my daughter.
Oh,
And there were no charges brought because she called the ambulance.
even if it's an hour late.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay, that's a messed up law. Okay, that's
Yeah. Yeah, and there was several messages sent from her and the person that gave them the marijuana. I've read them all. People sent them to me on Snapchat. That said, well, she died. And then he said, well, I guess she wasn't breathing for 30 minutes. Or he said, well, I low key feel bad, but oh well, she should have known.
That's horrible.
Yeah.
That's horrible. That's cold hearted and horrible to say.
Yes.
So, well, ladies, I can't tell you how touched I am, and I think we should all donate to your cause. Okay, the website again is rachelsangels.org. And this goes beyond donations. This goes into awareness. It could be anybody's child. It could be anybody's spouse. It could be anybody's brother, sister, daughter, cousin, nephew, friend. It could be anybody. Fentanyl does not
discriminate. And the biggest message is there's no experimenting.
Yep.
Exactly. Do not experiment.
There's no experimenting. There have been kids that have died from taking half a pill because they hurt their back and they got these oxycodones from their coworker and they're pure fentanyl.
Yep. Right. One of the biggest things I think I've learned from all this is your friends are not your friends.
No.
Almost every person I've seen that was given fentanyl was from a friend, and I haven't seen many stories of where the friends didn't just leave them to die.
So if there's anything on your podcast that you can highlight, there is no more experimenting.
Absolutely. No more experimenting, and I fully agree. If you do feel pain, go to a doctor. Go to a medical professional.
Absolutely. And mental illness is a real thing. This world is a tough world to live in.
It is.
A lot of depression. And, these drugs do relieve you in a weird way that kids love. And that's why they're dying.
Yeah, that's exactly correct. Well, ladies, I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I'm going to ask people to go on your Facebook page. And as I said, Cindy, let's get a billboard right here in Southern California.
Los Angeles, I'm with you.
I am with you too. Thank you, ladies. God bless you both. And we're going to make sure that your daughters' lives are celebrated and that they save a lot of lives.
And then do you have my email?
From your website, I can contact you from Facebook. But
CindyAD78@AOL.com. Do you have that one?
I don't have that, but I can.
All right, CINDY.
Okay.
AD78.
Okay.
At AOL.com.
All right, I'm going to send you an email.
I'm a workaholic, and that's where I work from.
And I'm going to personally give. I'm going to donate to your website. I'm going to personally give some money there. All right.
I appreciate it so much.
Oh, you're very welcome. Thank you,
Let's go
ladies.
to Kim.
Thank you.
Okay,
Okay,
have a
love
good
you. Thank
Sunday.
you.
Bye bye.
Bye.